Hello and welcome to God and Country. Hope you guys are doing well. And a lot of great things have been happening since Donald J. Trump became president-elect. Donald J. Trump. I mean, he won the Electoral College, obviously. He's well over 300, I think 312 last I saw. Last time I saw, he was up like 4 million, even on the popular vote. That, ladies and gentlemen, is simply amazing. That is amazing. Just think about that for a moment. He gets 312 electoral votes. He's up 4 million votes on Kamala Harris as far as the popular vote. We win the Senate. We win the House. If the Republican Party doesn't get something done over the next 4 years, or at least the next 2 years until the midterms, then, ladies and gentlemen, we don't deserve the White House, the Senate, and the House. I hope and I pray that those in the Senate will not fight Donald Trump, but the American people have spoken. The American people has said loudly, clearly, and plainly that we want Donald Trump and we want the policies that he was fighting for, the policies that he was pushing for. That is what we want as the American people. You know, the Kamala Harris team and even Joe Biden's team for the last year have been saying that a Trump administration will be a bad administration for women. But just look at this. Susie Wiles is the first chief of staff for the president, the first female to be nominated or to be put up as chief of staff is Susie Wiles, and that is done by Donald J. Trump. They said it's going to be bad for women if Donald Trump is elected as president, but yet here he is putting Susie Wiles as the chief of staff. Then you had President Donald Trump, President-elect Donald J. Trump, appoint Congresswoman Elise Stefanik as the UN ambassador. She's a woman. If Donald Trump was going to be bad for women, if his administration was going to be bad for women, I don't think, number one, that he would have appointed Susie Wiles as the chief of staff. Number two, I don't think that he would have appointed Congresswoman Elise Stefanik as the UN ambassador if he was going to be bad for women. I see, and I'm hearing that he's going to appoint Governor Kristi Noem, and he's going to have a lot of strong women surrounded him, to help push and help lead and help guide and direct him. Mark Cuban came out and said right before the election that Donald Trump surrounds himself by weak women. Well, I've got news for you, Mark Cuban. That's not the case. That is not the case whenever it comes to President Donald Trump. I mean, you just look at his family. His wife, Melania, she is not weak. Ivanka, she is not weak. Laura, his family is full of strong women. And I love the fact that Donald J. Trump, President-elect Donald J. Trump, has appointed Susie Wiles, or has put Susie Wiles as his chief of staff, Elise Stefanik as the UN ambassador. He's going to appoint Kristi Noem somewhere. I think it's great. I think those are good things. And so you just have to continue to look at the direction and the things that he is doing. Now, I'm hearing that there's going to be a battle in the House. I'm hearing that Congressman Mike Johnson is going to have a battle to remain speaker. Now, here's what I would say. I'm not here yet talking about for or against. I don't know who is going to be on the ballot. I don't know who's going to be running, for speaker. But here's what I will say. I think having a race is a good thing. I don't like this fact, well, we're just going to anoint him as speaker because he's been speaker for the last however long he's been speaker. I think to have people running for speaker and have debate, I think it's good for America. Even if I thought that Speaker Johnson was a staunch conservative, I would still want to see debate. I would still like to see debate. And I think that is something that we miss out on whenever there's an election and whenever there's 2 or 3 people that are up for on the ballot. I think we miss out on that debate, and I think debate is good for America. I think debate is good for the American people. I think it'd be great to have, 2 or 3 people running for speaker. I know people say, well, we don't want to be divided. I'm with you. We don't want to be divided, but I also want the person that's going to do the best job, the person that is going to be pushing for all of the things that Donald Trump said that he was going to fight for. Whoever the speaker is for the next 2 years, they need to be a Trump supporter, and they need to be pushing for the policy that Trump wants. And the same whenever it comes to the Senate. They need to be pushing for the policy that Donald Trump was fighting for as he was on the campaign trail. And so if that's Speaker Johnson, then it's Speaker Johnson. But if it's not, then we need to put somebody in that seat, in that spot, that is going to be the best speaker possible for President-elect Donald J. Trump, which I think is very, very important as far as moving forward, and especially as moving forward whenever it comes to Donald Trump's policy and the things that Donald Trump is going to be fighting for. This is some other news that I thought was great. President Donald J. Trump, I am pleased to announce that the highly respected former governor of Arkansas, Mike Huckabee, has been nominated to be the United States ambassador to Israel. Mike has been a great public servant, governor, and leader in faith for many years. He loves Israel and the people of Israel, and likewise, the people of Israel love him. Mike will work tirelessly to bring about peace in the Middle East. And so whenever you look at that, I don't know about you, but I love that. I love the fact that he is putting Mike Huckabee as the ambassador to Israel. That is good for the nation of Israel. That is good for America. That's good for America. And the ambassador that he picked to the UN, that is good for America. You see, President Trump is an America First president. And so whenever you have an America First president, he appoints people that are best fit for the job. He doesn't appoint people because they are a particular race, or they a particular color, or they claim to be a particular gender. No, you appoint people that are best for the job. And that is exactly what President Donald J. Trump is doing. He is appointing people that are best for the job. I like what Donald Trump Jr. said. Donald Trump Jr. said, "Woke is dead. Don't let it rear its ugly head ever again. It's over." Elon Musk, still much work to do, but the tide of the battle has turned. And then Colonel Rob Maness, who's a good friend of mine, he said, "We have to make sure we remove its remains completely from DOD and every other American institutions and bomb them to prevent any restituting of that ideology." And so I agree with all of this, that the woke agenda is dead, and we need to make sure that it stays dead. We don't want it in our schools. We don't want it in our public schools. We don't want it in our private schools. We don't want it in our libraries. We don't want it anywhere. This woke agenda that the left is pushing for, we need to, we beat it in this last election. America spoke. America doesn't want that. This whole transgender ideology, America doesn't want that. This whole drag queen ideology, America doesn't want that. And so we need to keep it buried. We need to keep it buried, which is very, very important to fight for our children. I want to say thank you for tuning in. Thank you for watching God and Country. I appreciate it very much. It's because of you that our message gets out. And I have noticed that our message is getting out more, whether on Facebook or even on YouTube. Our YouTube channel has been growing. Of course, we're a young channel just getting started into trying to make our voice known in the political arena. And so I appreciate all of you, who are sharing and who are subscribing and who are helping get out our message. One thing that I have said many times, and I love Charlie Kirk. I follow Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to show you a video here in a moment where Charlie Kirk is speaking about the election. And something that I have been saying for the last 6 months, and you've heard me say this over and over and over and over again, and that is your vote counts. In 2020, whenever the election was, I know many of us think that the election should not have turned out the way that it turned out. There was a lot of fraud that happened and took place. But a lot of people was under the impression, and a lot of people were saying, well, our vote doesn't count anymore. There's no sense of us even voting. And there was that attitude and there was that spirit among a lot of people saying that, well, our vote doesn't count. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if we didn't learn anything last week, we learned that our vote does count. I appreciate the Secretary of States and the Attorney Generals. I appreciate President-elect Donald J. Trump's team and the lawyers that fought to make sure that our vote counted and every single vote counted. Whether you voted for Donald Trump or whether you voted for Kamala Harris or whether you voted for even Kennedy was on the ballot in some places, no matter where you voted or who you voted for, whether Republican or Independent or Democrat or Libertarian, that your vote still counted, which is important. And that's how it ought to be here in the United States of America, that your vote does count. Every vote counts. And so I appreciate all of the men and women who fought to make sure that this election, that our vote counted. Now, I want to show you this video. This is Charlie Kirk, and he is talking about the election. And he is talking about, what his team did and what the Donald Trump team did. And I think it's so important what they did as far as registering voters, going after college-age men and women, going after college students and getting them registered, and getting them to the polls to vote. That is how we won. And we won this election because of men and women like Charlie Kirk. I mean, he did such a great job. I mean, he was fantastic in his work and the things that he did and the things that he accomplished. Watch this video. and you'll see exactly, what I'm talking about.
Execute on the ground in some of these states was like, guys, don't spend your time knocking on doors about a suburban soccer mom who's weighing her options. Instead, because that takes 9 contacts to try to get her. 9 points of contact on average. Conversations, discussions, and they could be 30 minutes on it. Instead, turning point, go spend your time in very Republican areas where there are non-registered or what we call disengaged voters. People that like Trump, like his worldview. For example, the bro vote, right? And so this is where we spent our time, and we harvested, not ballot harvested, but we harvested in a very, very powerful way. At Arizona State University, for example, we registered thousands of young men to vote in fraternities. And that was way easier than us going to try to win over swing voters. And we did a little bit of that, but generally, the Trump campaign was brilliant because they threw the Republican consultant playbook out. The Republican consultant playbook was spend all your time on the middle, on those like middle 15% swing voters, and go all in. Trump campaign said, why don't we just make our base bigger?
And Charlie Kirk was right. Trump did. He made his base bigger. And what a brilliant idea, from the Charlie Kirk team all the way to the Donald J. Trump team, and how they worked this election, and they made the base bigger. Now, I personally have learned a lot from watching this campaign. And if you know anything about me, you know that I'm a fan of Donald Trump, and you know that I follow, and I have followed very closely, the Donald Trump team and all of the things that they did. And I think that they did a fantastic job. Obviously, they did a fantastic job because we won, and we had 312 electoral votes and over 4 million. I'm not sure where that number is going to end up, but right now, around 4 million over Kamala Harris when it comes to the popular vote. And so I just think it's a wonderful thing. Thank you guys for tuning in. Thanks for watching. Appreciate you tuning in to God and Country. Thanks for subscribing. Thanks for all that you do to help us get out our conservative message. I hope and pray that you have a great remainder of your day, and let's continue to pray for Donald Trump. Lift him up in prayer. It's not over, ladies and gentlemen. We are just getting started. We are just getting started. So let's pray. Let's lift him up in prayer. Let's pray for J.D. Vance, the vice president-elect. Let's pray for his wife. Let's pray for Donald Trump's family. Let's pray for God's hand of protection about them, that they will continue to put people around them that have wisdom and integrity and good conservatives and good Christians, and let's move this nation forward, and let's not move it backwards. And whenever you have a strong leader, it's a much safer world. It's a much safer America. It's a much safer wherever you live. And so that's what we need, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for tuning in. Thanks for watching. May God bless you, and may God continue to bless the great United States of America.